This is part of the joy of writing, when you finally meet the people who have read the book and have been moved by it or scared by it, whatever the case may be. And this is really the first of that, where I've had the opportunities to talk to readers face to face.
It's a fast-paced read. It kind of has a cinematic quality to it.
You feel like you're just in the future with a new world. This is the way it is.
It's a page turner. It's one of those ones where he's got kind of a cliffhanger at the end of every chapter. You know, like, I gotta find out what happens next.
The story moves really well. I've really enjoyed it. I was actually enthusiastic about it.
Today, it's not too far-fetched, and I think that's one of the things that's intriguing about it as well, is that people are looking for a way to be able to vent, and this is a controlled way, or supposedly, I won't give anything away, a controlled way of doing that.
Well, I'll tell you one of the things that has surprised me the most. People who, they don't read this type of book, and all of those people have reported back saying, this book, I could not put down. So if I can reach people who this is not their genre, then I feel like I'm doing well.
Thank you for participating in the Catharsis Post-Simulation Client Self-Assessment. On a scale from 1 to 10, please indicate your response to the following statements. I feel no anger. I am nonviolent. I am empowered. I do not wish to cause harm to anyone nor anything. I feel my experience in the sim is a temporary solution to a permanent problem. I feel my experience in the sim is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. I feel my experience in the sim has normalized my violent behavior. I expect I will become violent again. I feel additional sessions in the sim will be helpful to my mental well-being. Thank you for your feedback.
Well, as an actor, I'm very comfortable in front of people. With this, I don't really have a role to hide behind or escape into. It's just me.
Stage manager leapt into action, racing across the stage to the dying grand dame.
I also spent a lot of time figuring out which passage do I want to read, because I knew I didn't want too many spoilers.
Fire lifted the air, rising ever higher as a chorus of 3,500 voices screamed in unison, echoing off the ornamental walls of Chicago's clear opera house.
I write dialogue the way that I would want to speak it as an actor. So I think I've got a pretty good ear for how people talk.
So Owen is probably my favorite character. Although coolest character I think is Elijah Carter. The blind scientist.
It was exciting. I didn't quite know what to expect. I was thrilled with the turnout. I never imagined this many people would show. There were some good questions.
I think any writer would tell you it's always the starting that's the hardest part.
I really appreciated the one question about how do you write? Do you have it figured out, all the way through? With Catharsis, I had no outline. I just had the idea. The exciting part about writing that way is that you make discoveries at the same time that the characters do, so that there's a greater spontaneity. It's very action-driven. There are a lot of chapters that end with cliffhangers. Those were by design to keep the reader coming back for more.
Chapter 6, February 1st, Chicago, Illinois. The two masked men moved silently down the marbled hallway, past alabaster busts and looming gilt mirrors, which, together, created the unsettling effect of making it seem as though the intruders were being watched, perhaps even followed. This distracted the brothers from their purpose, not in the least. They moved swiftly toward an oak door at the end of the hall, flanked by towering boxwood topiaries. Moonbeams spilt through a skylight, throwing silver scars across the marble. A keypad inlaid in the wall next to the door, distinctly anachronistic against the hall's neoclassical design, gleamed dully in the half-light. Behind them, at the opposite end of the hall, an elevator chimed. The first man stopped, motioned to the other, and they moved into the shadows. The doors remained closed. Still, they waited. After several moments, the first man reached inside a breast pocket and removed a small plastic bag. With a nod, they continued their work. The second man stepped forward, pressed a series of numbers on the keypad. An electronic voice responded. "Good evening, Judge Pleasance. Please confirm your identity." The first man reached into the plastic bag, removed a severed thumb, and pressed it firmly against the keypad's scanner. It lit up, beeping a few times. "Kincaid, concierge, recognized." More beeps, and then override accepted. The heavy oak door opened, releasing a small gust of air. Inside it was dark, the moonlight through the balcony window casting long shadows across the room's expensive furnishings. They moved through and around bergère armchairs and a number of bushy areca palms, keeping to the dark. "It's a jungle in here," the second man signed to the first. The other smiled in response. On the far side of the sitting area, a narrow hallway led to additional rooms in the judge's penthouse suite. The men headed there now, their shoes slippered in white Tyvek booties. Their hands were gloved, their faces masked. Indeed, every precaution had been taken to conceal their identities and leave no trace they had ever been there. Halfway down, on the right side of the hall, stood a door intricately carved in vines and leaves. The intruders knew this to be the entrance to the judge's bedroom. It was ajar, and from beyond came the apneic snores of William D. Pleasance. The first man nodded to the second, and with the utmost quiet, they entered the bedroom. This room, like the rest of the apartment, was decorated in a Rococo style. The two men looked at one another in tacit understanding of the architectural excess. The second man rolled his eyes. They had other business to attend to. The judge slept soundly, his right leg spasming occasionally. As they drew near, the second man removed a small aerosol canister fitted with a nasal cannula. With one deft move, he inserted the cannula into the judge's nose and depressed the canister's bottom. It had the desired effect. The judge's eyes fluttered a bit, and then, with no ill after effect, he became quite still, breathing normally. The brothers went about their work. The first pulled back the embroidered duvet, only to discover, to his disgust, that Judge William D. Pleasance slept naked. He was a large man, impressive in one way, less so in others. The second man cringed and signed, "Put the cover back, but leave his feet out." He reached into a coat pocket and produced 2 items, a lancing device similar to one used by a diabetic, and a small glass vial. Carefully, he gripped the judge's veiny foot by the heel and pricked his toe. A small bead of blood appeared. Placing the vial against the foot, he squeezed the man's toe, milking the blood into the cylinder. He noted, with further repulsion, that the judge's feet, with their yellowed, overgrown toenails, gave off an offensive odor. The job done, he capped the vial and held a small piece of cotton swabbing against the toe until the blood had clotted. Then he pulled the duvet back over the judge's feet, and the 2 men left the bedchamber as silently as they had come.